Millions of tourists come to the UK every year for Big Ben, Stonehenge, Edinburgh Castle. Queues around the block, gift shops selling tea towels. And fair enough, they are incredible. But this country used to have attractions that rivaled anything on earth. A tower taller than Blackpool's. A dome bigger than St. Paul's. A palace so extravagant a king bankrupted himself building it. And a mistress tore it down to pay off a card game. Today, gone, burnt down, demolished, melted for scrap, sold off piece by piece. In the next few minutes, we are going to walk through 7 of Britain's lost wonders, what they were, who built them, and exactly how they disappeared. Some of these stories are tragic, a couple are almost funny, and number 1 is a glass palace so vast that when it burned, the glow was reportedly visible from 8 counties away. Let's start with number 7. Number 7. The Castle in Southend-on-Sea. Opened in 1901, this purpose-built amusement park was designed entirely from scratch, long before modern theme parks took shape. Its name was borrowed from the German word for cure hall, but the actual remedy here was pure Edwardian entertainment. Dominated by a massive 80-foot copper dome, the 5-acre complex packed in a scenic railway, a circus, a menagerie, and a grand ballroom that held 2,000 dancers. For decades, it served as the social hub of Southend, drawing over 1 million London day trippers every year. But as cheap package holidays to Spain took off in the 1970s, the crowds evaporated. Neglect and devastating fires did the rest, leading to its demolition in 1992. Today, only the Grand Entrance Dome survives on England's at-risk register. Number 6. Manchester's Bellevue Zoological Gardens. Founded in 1836 by merchant John Jennison, this vast pleasure ground grew from a private garden into a 70-acre entertainment powerhouse. At its peak, it drew over 2 million visitors a year, blending a world-class menagerie with roller coasters, a speedway stadium, and the famous King's Hall, which hosted performances by the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix. Bellevue became famous for spectacular publicity stunts, including walking resident elephants through the city streets. But its end was a slow, painful attrition rather than a sudden catastrophe. By the 1970s, shifting attitudes toward animal welfare and mounting maintenance costs crippled the business. The zoological gardens closed on September 11, 1977, and the amusement park followed in 1980. The land was sold off in 1982, paved over for housing and a retail park. Today, virtually nothing of the original site survives, leaving only a single gatepost in the Manchester Museum to prove it ever existed. Number 5. The Dome of Discovery. Erected on London's South Bank for the 1951 Festival of Britain, this colossal structure was a celebration of post-war recovery and scientific ambition. Measuring 365 feet across, it stood as the largest dome ever constructed by human hands, easily dwarfing the dome of nearby St. Paul's Cathedral. Inside, 8 million visitors marveled at exhibits tracking British exploration, science, and futuristic technology. Yet, this engineering triumph lasted barely a year, because the festival was designed as a temporary exhibition, and a newly elected Conservative government, under Winston Churchill, wanted to erase the previous administration's signature project. The dome was swiftly condemned. In early 1952, demolition crews dismantled the massive aluminum shell and melted its metal ribs down for scrap. Today, the Royal Festival Hall stands near the site, leaving a simple brass plaque on the terrace as the only reminder of a temporary masterpiece destroyed by political spite. Number 4. The New Brighton Tower on the Wirral. Erected in 1898, this steel giant was built to completely outshine Blackpool. At 567 feet, it stood taller than Blackpool Tower, housing a glass observation deck, sprawling pleasure gardens, and a grand ballroom. Every weekend, thousands of visitors crossed the River Mersey by ferry to marvel at panoramic views extending to the Isle of Man. Yet, the tower's life was incredibly short-term. High maintenance costs and mounting safety issues forced its closure just before the First World War. Then came the grim logic of wartime salvage. The colossal structure was systematically dismantled piece by piece, and its steel was melted down to manufacture weapons. Even the massive ballroom, which survived for a few extra decades, was eventually demolished. Today, this monument of resort bravado is just a seaside car park, where a small plaque is the only evidence of Britain's forgotten giant. In third place, the Euston Arch stood as a colossal gateway to the age of steam. Completed in 1837 for the opening of Euston Station, one of the world's first mainline railway termini, this 70-foot-tall Doric propylaeum framed rail travel as a monumental civic achievement. Constructed from 20,000 dressed limestone blocks with 50-foot flanking columns, it welcomed passengers, royalty, and prime ministers for well over a century. Yet in 1961, British Rail declared this engineering masterpiece a mere obstacle to its modernisation plans. Despite a fierce defence campaign led by poet John Betjeman, who lobbied the government directly, demolition crews systematically dismantled the arch in 1962. In an act of supreme historical vandalism, most of the 20,000 stones were loaded onto barges and dumped as filling material in the River Lee. The shocking loss of this neoclassical gateway sparked immense national outrage, transforming the arch into a defining symbol of post-war neglect. This scandal directly spurred tougher listed building protection laws, ensuring other landmarks survived, while inspiring an ongoing campaign to rebuild the monument from its recovered riverbed stones. In second place, Nonsuch Palace in Surrey represents the height of royal ego and the ultimate absurdity of historical destruction. Commissioned in 1538, Henry VIII ordered the entire village of Cuddington, including its church, to be completely flattened to clear land for a palace meant to outshine every royal residence in Europe. The name itself was a direct boast. Henry claimed there was none such like it anywhere on earth. The design was a riot of Renaissance decoration, featuring octagonal towers, gilded statues, and expansive plaster reliefs. Yet, the massive project was never fully finished in Henry's lifetime. The great irony lay in its pathetic end. In 1682, Charles II gave the property to his mistress, Barbara Villiers, the Duchess of Cleveland. Facing astronomical gambling debts, she systematically tore the masterpiece down, selling off the timber, stone, and lead piece by piece to pay off her card games. Today, only grassy mounds and earthwork foundations remain in Nonsuch Park, marking where Henry's ultimate boast was traded away for quick cash. And finally, in first place, the Crystal Palace stands as the ultimate monument of Victorian ambition and tragic destruction. Built for the Great Exhibition of 1851, this massive prefabricated iron and glass structure was assembled in under 9 months before being relocated to Sydenham Hill. The finished palace covered 19 acres, utilised 293,000 individual glass panes, and stretched longer than Buckingham Palace. Inside, visitors walked beneath towering, full-grown transplanted elm trees and massive fountains fed by custom-built reservoirs. Outside, the surrounding park featured the world's earliest three-dimensional, full-size dinosaur sculptures, which became a national sensation. But on the night of November 30th, 1936, a catastrophic fire rapidly overwhelmed the building. Temperatures reached 1,200 degrees, melting the glass walls and buckling the giant iron framing. The colossal blaze cast a bright red glow visible across 8 counties, drawing over 100,000 silent onlookers. Watching the inferno, Winston Churchill famously remarked, "This is the end of an age." Today, only the grand stone steps rising to open sky and those resilient dinosaur statues survive in the park. Of these 7 lost wonders, which one would you most want to see rebuilt? Subscribe to the channel for more forgotten history. Across all 7 entries, a stark truth emerges. Britain's grandest achievements are often its most fragile. They prove that heritage doesn't survive on ambition alone, but on active, daily preservation. Which of these 7 wonders would you most want to see rebuilt? Subscribe for more.